Alright guys, welcome to the round 4 review. Pretty solid week this week. We scored 1980, which is around average. Lots of players, got injured, had really shit weeks. So the scoring was pretty low, but I'm pretty happy with that score. Currently ranked 8, which is pretty good. So we've moved up a couple places. It's good to see. Round 4 ranking of 1,351, so that's also good. And our team value is moving up, so we're ranked at 14.68 million. So we've gone up a lot since round 3, obviously. So that's good signs there. We're really lucky. The only real poor score we copped this week was Caleb Daniel. The rest were pretty average. But yeah, I'll talk about my team and the trades I made. But at one point in the Hawthorn Fremantle game, we were ranked first. But since we didn't have any Hawks or Fremantle players, we slid down to 8th, which is a bit unfortunate. But still a solid score. Trades we made were Robertson and Grundy in for Phillips and Young. Really happy I went through with these trades. It was originally Scholl and Hayden Young out, and I was bringing in Tom Mitchell and Devon Robertson. But we decided to go against that because Matthew Flynn wasn't named. And boy, I'm really happy that I, stuck. And went Brodie Grundy instead of, playing Lloyd Meek and sticking with those original trades. I'll tell you why really soon, but let's get into the defenders. Rory Laird, really good, 90. Expect a bit more from him considering he played North Melbourne, but definitely take it, good score. Tom Stewart, 99. Stiff not to get to 100, he was on 102, and then in the last minute, he gave away a free kick and lost 3 points, so that's a bit unfortunate, but Tom Stewart looks like a top 6 defender, so he looks like a good pick. He's probably going to be D5 or D6 this year. So there are a lot of good options in defence at the moment. And there's lots of players that I would choose over Tom Stewart if you're looking to bring in a premium defender. And I'll talk about that later on. But yeah, he looks like a good player this year. Definitely top 6 defender. Probably wouldn't be bringing him in right now though. Caleb Daniel. He's copped a suspension now, and he scored a 20. So it would have been nice if we traded him instead of Tom Phillips, But unfortunately, we traded Phillips to Robertson, and Caleb Daniel looked awful throughout the whole game. Just ruined the weekend, sort of, for me. Pretty poor score from him. It's actually terrible. I think he was the lowest scoring in my whole team. Yeah, he was. So, terrible score from Caleb Daniel. And since he's copping that suspension, it's a good time to move him on, because he's definitely not a top 6 defender, the way he played in that game. So we'll look to move on Caleb Daniel to maybe like someone like a Lockie Ash or a Giath, who are pretty cheap options and they look pretty good. So look to move him on to one of those two. Doherty was amazing, only player that turned up in defence, so that was good. He's definitely a top 6 defender, so look to bring him in at some point this season. Oleg Markov. His cash generation is slowing down a bit. 66 is not great, but for what we bought him at, he's gone up a fair bit in value, which is good. But we'll definitely look to move him on soon. And Cummings doing wonders. He's taking kickouts for the Giants and looks really good. Another solid score from Cumming, 83. And his partner in crime, Lockie Ash, looked pretty well on the weekend. So those two players look really good. And as mid-price players, they offer a lot of value. So I'm really happy with that. Unfortunately, Kazuchi and Highmore didn't play, so they were just sitting on my bench doing nothing. It'd be nice to have a bit of cash generation there for future weeks, but that's fine. Going into the midfield now, Jack Mcrae, amazing, 113. Probably should have looped him, given that Brodie Grundy was playing Mumford. I still had a lot of faith in Brodie Grundy, but yeah, him playing Mumford instead of Flynn changed probably big time in terms of his scoring. I reckon if he were to play Flynn, he would have scored a 120. But since he played Mumford, didn't get as many hitouts as he normally would. I think he still got a fair few, but Mumford definitely restricted his scoring. So a bit disappointed that I didn't take the loophole from Mcrae with the 113. And it would have been nice to get those extra, 40 points. If I did go Mcrae, I would be ranked 3rd, I think it was. I did the maths. So that's a bit unfortunate, but I'll definitely take a 113 from Mcrae. He's been great this season. Hasn't gone under 100 yet. One of the very few players to not go on 100. So he's good. Merritt, same goes for Merritt. He's been a really good player, not gone under 100 this season, looks really good, and provides a good captain option this week, so I'll talk about that later on. So Mcrae Merritt, really happy with. And Tim Torrento, he's been really good his last 2 weeks. Bounced back really well. His disposal efficiency hasn't been great, but it's not Supercoach, it's fantasy, so really looking forward to what he's doing in future games. At the moment, the way he's playing, he looks like a top 8 mid, so well done if you started, looking like a good pick. And then Lockie Shoal. Really glad, I didn't trade Lockie Shoal. He was in my trade plans all week, and when Flynn was not named, we had to sort of, fall back and trade out Phillips instead of Shoal. And that turned out really well, because Shoal, I think he's like 8% ownership? Not too sure. I think he's pretty low ownership, 8% ownership, so yeah, he's good pod, and he managed to score 130, so really happy with that effort from him. And we'll definitely look to keep him now. He's probably not a top 6 defender, but there's definitely a lot of cash generation in him, so look to keep him for a couple more weeks, see how much more coin he can make for us. Gordon was fine, 67. His cash generation is also going to be slowing down in the next couple of weeks. And Jordan Clark, 63, that was alright. Wasn't great, but he plays North this week, so we'll probably hold him. We saw what Shoal did against North Melbourne, so Jordan Clark, hopefully he can ton up for us. Playing North Melbourne, gain a bit of confidence, that'd be nice. And then James Jordan, 29. Look, it's not a great score. Time on ground, I think he had like 50% time on ground, so he played like half a game. Yeah, it doesn't look that great. His job security is a bit shaky at the moment, so he's one to watch. And Tom Powell was amazing with the 91. Really happy the way he played. So he looked good. Brockman, 49, that's solid. Lazara, 30. I think his job security is fine, so he should be locked into the team. And then ruck department, as I said, Gordon Grundy didn't really do too well, 93, but we captained him. So we lost a fair few points going Grundy over Mcrae. And Gawn was amazing, 132. Never really thought about putting the captain on Max Gawn, but it was either Brody Grundy or Mcrae. So in the end, we lost a fair few points. We could have even done it on Gawn, but was never going to do that, so that's fine. And then forward line, bit all over the place here. Dunkley was amazing again. He sort of falls into the bracket along with Mcrae and Merritt, one of those three. They all look pretty good. They all haven't gone under 100, and they all look, like I said, phenomenal. They're marking, tackling, and getting a lot of the footy. Especially Dunkley, considering he's not attending many centre bounces. He's playing more up forward, but he's still managing to gather possessions, which is good. Tom Atkins, glad I held him, 88. He looked really good. Definitely hold him for a couple more weeks. Hine, 74. Look, it's not a great score from Nick Hine, but he had a really solid second half. His first half was terrible, but he bounced back really big in the second half. So I still like him. I think he could average above 100 if he has a good couple of games in a row. I think he's a good pick, and he might even push for top 6 forward. Who knows? Robertson on debut wasn't great. I think he was on 34 at halftime. So he got 9 points in the second half, which is terrible. Might get dropped. Who knows? Bit of a risky picking him up. His job security was always going to be a bit shaky, but hopefully he holds his spot. We'll be benching him this week. But yeah, I'm not confident with him scoring anymore. Chad Warner, amazing, 95. He was on track for 100, but had a pretty poor fourth quarter, but looked pretty well throughout the 3 quarters. So really happy with this pickup, and he's made a ton of coin, which is good. And then we were gonna field Campbell, so we had a 58. It was either him or Rao. In the end, we lost about 7 points, but that's alright. Rao was alright, 51. Thought he would go a bit bigger against North Melbourne, but didn't really seem it, so it was fine. Bergman, unfortunately, didn't play, which is a bit disappointing. And like I said, Braden Campbell, 58, that's solid. His cash generation slowed down a bit as well. And Lloyd Meek as a utility, he might get dropped this week. That's a poor effort from the big man. So yeah, pretty solid week in the end. 1980, I'll definitely take it. Solid score. In terms of our trades this week, what I'm going to be looking to do is, I really like Nick Cox in the weekend, and since he's still 350k, we're going to go look to pick him up. So try to get that cash generation flowing again on the bench. I don't think Bergman's going to be named in the next couple of weeks, especially with Lockie Jones coming into the side for Port. So Nick Cox for Bergman. That also provides an option for us to field. And then Daniel, we can either go Daniel to Ash or Jyeth. I'm more confident with Ash at the moment, even though Jyeth looks really good. I just feel that Ash is the better pick in the long term. and Giants is capable of like a 40 or even a 30, whilst Lockie Ash is like a safe 60 every week. So that's the trades. That's what we're leaning towards at the moment. Really happy with how the team's looking at the moment. In terms of cash generation, Kosicki and Highmore probably won't get named this week. Maybe Kosicki comes back in, who knows. Brockman should hold a spot. Lazaro should hold a spot too. Not too sure whether Matt Flynn gets named, considering GWS 1. They might stick with Mumford and keep Flynn out the side for a bit. But I'm hoping he comes back in so he can make a bit more coin. Rao will definitely hold his spot, and Meek and Robertson's job security isn't great at the moment. So next week, what I'm going to be looking to do is probably get rid of Highmore and Kosicki. Even if Kosicki plays, his scoring's not been great, so probably look to move those two on. Hopefully we have no injuries this week, or no poor scores, so we can actually fix up the rookies and get that cash generation flying. That'd be nice. But overall, pretty solid score. In terms of captains this week, we're going to be going Mcrae B, C, and Merritt C. Mcrae plays Gold Coast. Not too sure if Gold Coast give up a fair few points, but I do know that Brisbane Lions are a good team to score against, and Zach Merritt plays it, so Mcrae hasn't gone under 100 this whole year. I'll back him in with the BC. Neither has Merritt, so we'll back him in for the C, and Mcrae doesn't go too well. And we know that Brisbane are a pretty poor team, and they give up a lot of points, so if Mcrae doesn't do too well, we can obviously captain Zach Merritt, so that's what I'm looking like at the moment. And then other players that I was looking at during the week, obviously looking to bring in some defenders. Jake Lloyd, Callum Mills, they all look pretty good, and I'm pretty keen on this guy. I might look to bring him in a couple of weeks, but Bose looks really good for Gold Coast. Taking kickouts, he's taking marks. He looks like a top 3 defender at the moment. He's playing amazing, and I think he was on 80 at halftime last night, so he's someone that I'm really keen on. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who the top 6 defenders are this year. Led will definitely be one, and Lloyd will definitely be one. Doherty, I'm assuming he'll be top 6. But apart from those 3, there's no real radar on who's going to make the cut. But I think someone like Ridley is also in some phenomenal form. So Ridley, even Bose, those guys could definitely be top 6, and Callum Mills. So it'll be interesting to see who the top 6 defenders are by the end of the year. But yeah, in terms of players we're looking to bring in the future weeks, probably someone like Bose. I'm not too sure sold on Ridley at the moment. But yeah, midfielders, Brad Crouch is someone I'm also looking at. He's pretty cheap, had a good game on the weekend, relied a lot on tackles, which is concerning because if he doesn't tackle, his scoring's going to be affected significantly. But he's someone that's pretty cheap and a good option to bring in as well. So those are just a couple of players I'm looking at. Wingard looks pretty good as well in the forward line, might be one to consider. Tex Walker, probably not anymore, he's probably maxed out a bit in price. But yeah, those are just a couple of players to consider. In terms of rookies, there's not much available at the moment. Waterman's job security looks through the roof, he looks pretty good. So if you're looking for a cheap rookie, maybe like a Waterman. But apart from that, yeah, the rookies are pretty dry at the moment, and it's going to be hard to get cash generation, especially for the defenders. There's not much apart from Lockie Jones on offer, so we'll see how we go next week. Hopefully some new rookies are named this week and play well. But yeah, that's how the trades are looking like at the moment. Comment down what you scored below, and I'll see you guys next week.